Next exercise we've got here is the standing dumbbell shoulder press. So you need 2 pairs of dumbbells for this. Now shoulder press is probably one of the more difficult exercises out there, because if you think about everyday life, how rare do you reach above your head? Putting glasses in the cupboard and putting your overhead luggage in the
overhead compartment.
Aye, so that's the only 2 things that I can imagine where we reach above our head. So it's still a fantastic movement that we want to have access to, because that's where shoulder problems can come from. Yep. So shoulder press, we're going to bring this up and we're going to hold them in front of our shoulders. So notice how James has got this in front of his delt. If you look at this side on here, what he's not doing is these elbows are not sitting out to the side, they're actually dropped forward a little bit and kind of down at that bottom position. You'll see a lot of people shoulder press from halfway up the middle of their face here, and not that it's a bad thing, but you want to do full range of motion as we go through this movement. So if James stands and faces the camera, I'll get you to do a couple of reps and we'll call it the cues. Now, main thing is when James is pressing, you're looking to press up in the middle of your head, and I always say to people that you want your head to come through that window, but you don't want to just bring your head forward. You want the shoulders to do all the work here. There's a slight movement if you rotate side on to the camera. You can see that it's in front of him, but then it presses up into the middle of his head. Your range of motion will dictate what this looks like for you, but just bear that in mind as you're doing each of the movements. Another thing to point out here is there's not too much extension here at the lower part of the back. So if you overarch this when you're pressing up for me, you see here a lot of people will drive those hips forward. You want to make sure they're kind of stacked back a little bit, but more importantly, you're bracing this core and you've got your ribs stacked, right? You've got your rib cage stacked and your core nice and braced as you're pressing through that movement.
Yep.
So, is there any other cues you normally
have? What I would say is I like the cue of squeezing the quads, squeezing the glutes, as well as bracing the core. And that means exactly, that's just that extra stability, so you're not overextending the back. What a lot of people do is, as you say, they'll get lower back issues from doing this movement, but the reason we are doing this standing is to build that stability as well as the shoulder. So same as the dumbbell bent over row, you're building stability as well as strength at the same time.
Yeah, as much as you're seeing shoulder, this isn't just an isolation of shoulder movements. All the exercises that you'll see in our programs are compound movements, because we want the biggest bang for your buck. We want so many muscle groups intrinsically working together. Yep. Now the only caveat I'll say with this, there is some clients who have really extensive low back pain because they can't physically press above their head because the shoulder mobility is so tight for them that they're not quite there at a point where they can press right above their head, as James is doing there. So if this is you and you're finding a lot of pressure going through your lower back, you've done all the cues we've said, but you're still experiencing that discomfort, get a box or get a bench and you're just going to sit in it, and it's going to disconnect the lower half of your body, but the same cues remain the same. If you fold your chest over, like hunch the back, you still want to make sure your chest is propped up, the core is braced and engaged, elbow position is still the same in front of the shoulders a little bit, and then driving right up through, right up above your head. So that's just a little regression if you find that that's a wee bit tight, but shoulder, standing overhead shoulder press, such a key compound movement that you should have in your exercise programming.
Let's get it.